The big story, as you said, story of the day, story of last night. We were live on the air when Aaron Rodgers went down 4 plays in. Was it 4 or 5? 4 or 5 plays.
4 plays in.
4 plays into their first possession of the season. And worst fears confirmed, torn Achilles, out for the season. Rob Parker, your thoughts?
First, I was going to say, Chris, you saw what I sent you and Rob G. That website, did you see that last night? That from the doctors, remember I was quoting it saying,
yes,
there, but that was unbelievable that their doctors, from that site,
just
from the
site,
video. Right, and they predicted it that it was in a torn Achilles.
But you know what, Rob? There were people that told me, and I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't look that closely and really have my angle. But they said when you slowed it down, right, you could see his calf pulse. Remember how Kevin Durant did?
Right.
When he got injured,
said that was it.
So these doctors may have been able to see that. They know what to look for. Maybe they were able to, see different replays or whatever.
But they got it right.
I mean, they were right on the money, right?
Right Absolutely. On the money. Chris, here I am, and I'm not trying to be like Joe, mean old guy, and get him off the field and this and that. Aaron Rodgers had a tremendous NFL career, one of the great quarterbacks of all time, okay?
And you have been, you've been a guy that likes Aaron Rodgers. So you have
one of the favorite players I've ever had to watch, as far as watch him perform, watch him do his thing, play football, enjoyed his whole career, okay? Right. But if I'm the Jets today, I move on and my future is without Aaron Rodgers. And not just this season, because obviously it's unfortunate, but you cannot, NOT, moving forward, think you're going to regroup, try to re-get this back on track next year after he's rehabilitated and he heals Chris, and we're going to rev it back up and get ready to do this again next year, next September. Would be a huge mistake from the Jets standpoint. Now, what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, that's fine. If I'm the Jets and I have this young defense that I believe is something special and I have something going, I can't put myself in a spot where this could happen again. And as much as I hate to see anybody get hurt or players get hurt, because that's what they do, it takes away from the game. That's what we want to see. We want, whether they win or lose, we want to see them compete, Chris, and be healthy. We don't want teams to win a championship because 4 stars are out on injury. Nobody wants to see that, okay? Right. And if they and if they are serious about, they have a defense, they have a coach they like, they really think they can do this, having a guy who's going to be 40 later this year and going to be 41 when next season rolls around at some point, Chris, you can't take a chance of having the same thing happen, especially with an older quarterback, and just the whole idea that it could happen.
No doubt.
And I think if you poo-poo it and say, oh, it's just a freak accident. No, at that age, could it happen again? And can you endure again? And if you're the Jets, you cannot, N-O-T, you can't set yourself up for that. You gave it a shot. Don't forget, Brett Favre got hurt on the Jets too, Chris.
Right. He continued playing through
an injury and was bad, and it cost him.
His quality of play and the teams went down
when he kept playing
through the injury. Look, I don't think your take is crazy. In fact, I tend to agree with it. And I'm going to throw out a few situations to kind of bolster your point, and then I want to throw a question at you. Rob, I have said this, and I don't know that they could get him, but there is some line of thinking out there that maybe the L.A. Rams might be ready to move on from Matthew Stafford.
Chris, they are. They don't want to pay him.
Right? I mean, unless they looked at what happened Sunday, and credit to the Rams, they demolished Seattle, which a lot of people have high hopes for and think are a playoff team, and they beat them 30-13 on Sunday, and Stafford looked good, threw for over 300 yards. Unless they look at that and say, you know what, we got another run in us, they should be ready to move on from Matthew Stafford. He's got this year, next year, and the following. So he's got 3 years guaranteed on his deal, big money, and then potentially a 4th year if they don't take the out. So I think, Rob, the Jets, great defense, good receivers, and a great one in Garrett Wilson, great running backs, offensive line that pass blocking is definitely a question mark. Run blocking, they got a good run game. Rob, I call the Rams and see if they're willing to part ways for a reasonable price with Matthew Stafford. So here's the problem there, though. Beyond whether or not the Rams would do it. It's hard to do that, Rob, if Aaron Rodgers is in the building and thinking next year I'm back and this is still my team. That you can't do that. You have to know Rodgers is not going to be there next year. That's the first scenario. Second one, Rob, because I thought about this last night. Say, you know what? If Rodgers, he's out for the season, if he were to mentor Zach Wilson this year and continue to, and let's say, when he can get on the sidelines, he's on the sidelines. During the week, he's helping them. He's in the room, the quarterback room. He's really helping this kid become a better quarterback. And let's say Wilson does. What if Wilson starts to play pretty well, and on the strength of the run game, the defense, and Wilson's improved play, they work their way into the playoffs somehow? Now, that might not be the most realistic, but it could happen. Let's say it happens. Rob, then next year, after Wilson's made improvement, do you just turn it over to Rodgers at 40, turning 41 years old? No guarantee he'll be great. 2 years removed from his last really good season. I hear you, and I think the sooner they come to some type of conclusion, and it should really be, let's move on. Because, Rob, there's no guarantee. There were question marks this year as to how good Rodgers would be. Next year, we won't know. And so here's the question I want to throw at you. How would you do it? How would you cut bait with Aaron Rodgers? Because he's been great. I mean, he didn't play, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like, he has done all the right things since he got there.
It's just, I think I'd have to be honest, and it would be a hard conversation to have. But at 40 or 41 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, the chances, I'm not saying you can't do it, but we can't take a chance of this happening again in a scenario. And you just have to have a real conversation. It's a hard one. Nobody wants to have, Chris, because it doesn't feel right when you just cut somebody after they get hurt, or just be like, okay, we're done with you. So that's the hard part. And he doesn't deserve that from that standpoint, but I'm talking about from just the football standpoint in the Jets. And whether it's not this season or after the season, Chris, or whatever, after he rehabs or whatever. But I just think if you're the Jets and you're serious about winning a Super Bowl, I just don't think you could pack up all those eggs in that same basket and hope that you don't break any. I wish I'm wrong. I remember watching Peyton Manning his last year, and he was the Tin Man, and he got benched for Brock Osweiler, and he played in the Super Bowl, Chris, and had 103 yards and looked awful. I mean, that
they won, but it wasn't because of him.
Right. Now, if that's the scenario you want, and you're hoping he could stay upright and throw for 100 yards and not throw the bad interception, and you have a defense like the Denver Broncos, then good luck winning it that way. But all I'm saying is the chances of Aaron Rodgers coming back, being healthy, and leading you to that Super Bowl that you thought you were going to do this year, I can't see it.
Here's the other thing, Rob, and you saw how magical the offseason was for the Jets, right? From day one, I mean, he's got the great press conference where he talks about the Super Bowl. He's had all the games, the Knicks, hockey games. It was everywhere. And he's great in practice, hard knocks. He looks good. Like everything was great. All the players are excited, right? They think now they're going to a different level because of him. But Rob, if he were to come back next year, I'm not saying the players would question how great he's going to be or how good he's going to be, but it wouldn't be the same magic, Rob.
You can't reload it, Chris. That's
right.
what I'm saying. You can't put those same eggs in the basket again.
You can't. It would just be like, okay, he's here. We still think he's a great quarterback, but you know what I mean? It wouldn't be the same buzz.
And they would be
all.
Like, how long before something happens?
It'd be in the back of guys'
play
minds.
6 games? They'll be doing the over-under, Chris. How many games?
Yeah.
6? 12?
It would be in guys' minds, the back of their minds, the receivers.
Yep.
And other players. There's no doubt. They're human.